Hi everybody. How's it going? Happy Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. Hi guys. Hello. As you can see, the camera's super shaky because I'm holding it in my hands. I'm gonna switch to my tripod in just a second. I had everything set up and then I saw that the sun just came out. So I kind of had to move. We had a really nice cloudy, overcast day and then the sun just came out from behind the clouds. I had to move everything, but hi guys, how's it going? I'm just gonna put you guys in my handy tripod. Try not to turn my camera off in the process. Thank you for the hearts. Good to see everybody on a Friday. Hi, how's it going? Thank you for sharing. Welcome to everyone who doesn't know me. I'm gonna switch this really quick so that I can make sure. Good morning, the Blue Spruce. I just wanna make sure you can see my face while I'm doing this. Happy Friday, guys. There we go. Oh, good, Jennifer, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so I just want to say hi to everybody. My name is Trisha. My blog is called Eat Your Beets. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a food blogger and a food photographer, and I help bloggers and photographers get the knowledge they need to capture amazing shots. So I get a lot of requests to talk about how I capture movement, and I did some shots this morning. I'm not going to do any shots while I'm teaching. You're awesome, thank you. I also can't see like from very far away, so I'm gonna be like squinting a lot. I did some shots this morning with my son Oliver. He is my oldest. He helped me set everything up because my kids are home from school. So I'm not gonna shoot while I'm teaching, but I'll share my images over on the blog. If you're on my email list, you'll get the email tomorrow morning. I'll go into all that later. Okay, so if you guys know anybody you think would really like to watch this scope, share it now, share it out, Twitter, Facebook. I think you can share those two ways for sure. Tag a friend, tell your mom, call your sister, whoever you think might want to watch the scope. And basically, today I'm going to talk about capturing two types of movement: fast movement. Thanks. That's true. I've been told that my whole life. Hello. Hi from Bangkok. How are you, Miss Marshall? So basically we're going to cover fast movement and slow movement. And the really important things that you need to know for capturing those two things are you really need to be shooting on manual mode. That's like tip number one. You really have to be shooting on manual mode. Second, you really need a tripod because if you're working solo, you're going to need something to hold your camera, especially if you're in the shot. You're going to need something making the movement. So I either use my tripod or I have my oldest son Oliver help me. Either way, that's kind of how we do things. So the first thing that you're going to do when you're capturing movement is if you want to capture fast movement, this is perfect for sugar if you're using dusting sugar, or perfect for if you're sprinkling salt, something that you want to capture the movement and sort of stop it when it's kind of at its peak for moving. And the things that are great for moving, things that have a lot of texture to them, like I said, sugar, salt, things where you can see little pieces of things kind of moving. So the first thing that Oliver and I shot today was salt. So first of all, if you're shooting alone, a lot of people kind of ask me, how do I set up my shots? The first thing that you need to do is make sure that your aperture number is going to be high enough to get enough of your story in focus. So because you don't have the luxury of everything kind of being on the same focal plane, you're going to want to make sure that your aperture is high enough that it's still going to get a lot of those things in focus. So don't shoot wide open. Don't shoot at 1.8 or 1.4. Go ahead and raise that aperture number to something like 3.5, 4. Everything I shot today, I think I shot on 4. You can see the sun just came out and it got like kind of dark over here. So just keep those things in mind. Really make that aperture number large enough that you're not going to have, a really big depth of field. There's going to be a lot of things in focus. So if you're working alone, which a lot of times I are, you're going to need to set your focal point. I like to do the work for my camera. You'll notice sometimes if you're in front of the tripod, your camera can't focus on something, so it won't take the shot. So what I like to do is make my focal point something that's gonna be stationary. It's not gonna move at all, it's gonna stay still, so that my camera's not working to try to find that focal point. It also needs to be something that has a little bit of contrast on it. So like my shirt is probably too dark for my camera to pick up. And actually Oliver and I were having a hard time today because this just concrete cellar is kind of too shiny, so there's not a lot of texture to it, so the camera was having a hard time focusing. But just make sure that, sounds like there's an airplane flying over, I don't know if you can hear that. Just make sure that whatever you're focusing on is going to be stationary, it's not going to move, and your camera is able to focus, and then you can come in front of your camera again. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is set up your shot. Get your correct exposure, and you're going to want to be working with a very fast shutter speed if you're going to be capturing something like sprinkling salt or moving sugar. You need a really fast shutter speed. I typically shoot on normal settings around 1/125th of a second. Today when I was capturing the salt, I was shooting at 1600. So my shutter speed was 1600, and your shutter speed tells you how fast that shutter is going to open and close. You're awesome. Thank you. You're awesome. Give me some hearts. If you guys, is this helpful for you guys, kind of getting the behind the scenes of how I do things? A lot of people ask me how I do these shots and how I keep my hands in the shots. So I'm going to give you some tips on that too. Good. I'm glad. So basically, your shutter speed needs to be very, very fast. Just a quick question. Sorry, off topic. Oh, thank you. Yep, sure do. You guys. So basically, what I want you to do is make sure you have a super fast shutter speed, and then you can either, if you're working alone, set a self timer. So your camera likely has a self timer. Go ahead and set that up for yourself. And it'll be in your menu. If you don't know where it is, refer to your camera manual. What I do is if I'm having, so sometimes I'll set up my shot and I'll have, shutter remote. So shutter remote is really challenging. So I don't actually use a remote. I just use the timer in my camera because a lot of times both of my hands are in the shot. So I'm not gonna have time to click the remote and put it down or continuously click it. So I just use the self timer on my camera. If Oliver, my oldest son, or maybe my husband is helping me, I will put my camera on continuous high because I want it to snap as many pictures as it can in a short period of time. So that's what I want to make sure that you guys are remembering. Make sure that you guys have that fast shutter speed and either set it on continuous high. All of these things are going to be, how many exposures do you set it to take? That's a great question. So I don't like to run around a whole bunch, but I also don't like to take a bunch of shots that don't look good. So I'm gonna set it up to have about 10 exposures, and by 10 quick snaps, I'm gonna know whether or not I need to move. Maybe my body is not in the center of my image, right? When you're working alone, you have to do a lot of that back and forth running around. So just make sure that you are where you wanna be, your subject is where you wanna be, set it all up on the opposite side of the tripod, and then come to this side. Yep, no problem. So as I mentioned, I do like to have a very fast shutter speed when I'm capturing movement. And then what we did today was I basically just did sprinkling of sugar. So I've got my static object that my focal point is gonna be on, so my camera's not gonna have a hard time focusing on anything. It's on that continuous high, taking those frames. And I got a fast shutter speed of 1600. And basically all I did is just go and sprinkle some sugar. And I don't know, or salt, sorry. I don't even know if you guys can see all of that, but anything that you're gonna use that's really coarse is gonna be helpful. So basically you can play around with movement and just doing a regular sprinkle. What actually ended up looking really fun is when I did like kind of a swirling motion, because then it captures that salt that's moving. Do I always wear black when you're going to be in the shot? In general, I wear black. So I would say whatever you want to wear doesn't matter. I usually wear an apron too, but my apron needs to be washed. It's too dirty. But I would say it's really important to remove distractions from your subject. So like I took off my watch, I take off my main wedding band, so I just have just a solid band. I just wear minimal things so that whatever I'm wearing isn't taking away from you know, what I'm trying to capture. So again, as I mentioned, Oliver and I kind of played around with like doing a circular motion with my hand, and it was able to capture some really fun movement in the salt. So that is going to be a quick little rundown on how to catch movement if you want to capture something that's moving really quickly. So the next thing that we did was we captured slow movement. So this would be something if you want to do like maple syrup or honey or milk. So a lot of times I will do a milk shot. And what I like to use for that is just a cup of milk and a pour. Again, I've already got my milk in here, but again, make sure that this is actually gonna look like I'm pouring milk into a cup of coffee, but the cup's empty, right? So, you know, because a lot of times it takes me several frames to make sure I'm getting the shot I want. And so I just use something that's easily interchangeable. So pour the milk in, pour it back into the pourer, pour it back into the cup, pour it back in here. See how many times I can get the shot that I'm trying to achieve. So for this one, again, same thing. Make sure that you're setting your focal point up on something like a cup that's going to be stationary. You don't want the cup to move. Make sure that your aperture is going to be at a large enough number that it's going to be capturing a lot of what you want to be in focus. And then make sure that your exposure is correct. And now you're going to the opposite side where your shutter speed is going to be very, very slow. So I think these shots I did today, I shot at 1/40th of a second, maybe 1/80th, something, but very, very slow, right? And so because it's on the tripod, I'm not getting camera shake. I'm on the tripod and it's able to freeze that slow motion and sort of freeze it in time, which is a really fun thing to capture. So basically, when I'm doing this, I just make sure that I've got my subject, it's in a stationary spot, and then I'm just gonna slowly pour. And you can play with heights. I mean, I did this a lot when Oliver and I were shooting, and basically just going back and forth and continuing to pour until you get the shot that you want. And so I would just make sure that I did some stuff like that. If you're able to capture drips, that's even better. But just making sure that whatever you're doing, you're moving, you know, at a slow enough pace, because the thing is your shutter speed is very slow. So if you're moving yourself too fast, that's gonna capture the blur. And the only thing that you wanna capture is the movement of the liquid or the movement of the syrup. So whatever that movement is, that's the only thing you wanna capture. So make sure that you're not, you know, bringing this hand up and down really quickly. You guys love the milk. Look at all those hearts. So funny. So let's talk about another thing that I use quite a bit in my shots, and that is my hand. So today you're going to modeling school and you are going to learn, great advice, good, thanks. You're gonna learn how to hold your hands. So now the way that your hands look in your images can definitely take away or add to your subject. Similar to a prop, you want your hands to sort of just be there but not be distracting. So when you think about the way that you hold a cup, you just want to make sure that your hands are soft, graceful, not gripping like angry cup holding, right? Because when we hold something like this, you can see the knuckles, it looks like a tense hand, but if you hold a cup gently like this, or when you're pouring, if you just remember that your hands are soft and your hands are pouring in a soft way and you're not like gripping things or clutching things, right? So you don't want to claw, you don't want claw hands, you want beautiful ballet hands that are going to be graceful and that are going to hold things. Similar to, I remember when I had my senior pictures taken, they were like, make sure that your hands are really soft, right? So it's that kind of thing. Okay, so if you want to capture fast movement, you've got what? Fast shutter speed. Great advice. Good. I'm glad. Fast shutter speed. Really capture the thing that you're trying to capture. So at least 1600 for that shutter speed. If you want to capture something slow, you want to freeze the moment in time, you're going to go and have a super slow shutter speed. Remember, set up your shot, put your focal point on something stationary, make sure your aperture is a large enough number. It's going to capture everything in focus that you want, and make sure that if you're using a tripod, you're going to do a self timer. If you have a buddy who's shooting for you, put it on continuous high, and it's going to really capture a lot of frames in there. So that's gonna be it. Do you have any questions? I managed to get this into 15 minutes. I'm really proud of myself. Does anybody have any questions? Great practice info, good, I'm glad. I'm gonna move myself a little closer so I can see if you guys have any questions. Thanks for the hearts. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I like to keep these scopes relatively short because I know that you don't have a lot of time, and I wanna put it on YouTube and make it easily accessible for you guys. So is there anything else? Yay! Good, I'm glad. Was this helpful for you guys? Give me some hearts if you're gonna go home. This was super helpful, good. Are you gonna go and try to practice some motion shots this weekend? Give me some hearts. Looking forward to more videos. Are you gonna write these out for the blog? I will write the tips, I'll probably just give example images. I probably won't write as much, but I will post the video on my blog for sure. Honestly, I look forward to this every week. Thank you. I'm always glad that you guys are happy to come and watch the videos. And if you have suggestions, you can shoot me an email, eatyourbeatsblog@gmail.com. If you want to come over to Instagram and leave me a suggestion there. The settings for the pictures, absolutely. Yep, I'll definitely include those. If you guys have questions on manual mode, styling, white balance, I have an entire and complete resource available on my website. It's called Eat Pretty Things, my ebook. And you're not gonna remember, you will, you'll remember. And would you consider an online course? Maybe. I mean, the thing is, I do actually have a complete resource online that's available for you guys where I take you through, you know, the basics of manual mode all the way to styling and editing. So it's like A to Z. That resource is available on my website. And, you know, I do these videos as, you know, like a helpful thing to help you guys on the back end as well. What else? Let's see. Oh, my newest ebook is almost finished, you guys. It's so close. It's called Shot in the Dark, Tips, and it's a helpful guide for low-light food photography. So excited for that to come out. And I've got a freebie for you guys. For those of you who haven't captured it yet, here's your freebie. I want to make sure that you guys can screen capture this, but basically this is my 4 tools every photographer should have to help you shoot like a pro. So you guys can screen capture this. It's basically eatyourbeats.leadpages.co/photog tools. So if you guys want to screen capture this, this is going to give you my little one sheet of the 4 tools that are going to help you shoot like a pro. And other than that, I think that's gonna be it if you guys are done with questions. Thanks for joining me. And I'm always happy for suggestions on things to write about. Oh, good. I hope it helps for shots in restaurants. It might. I mean, restaurants are tough. They have a lot of overhead lighting and you can't ask them to turn the lights off. My best tip for shooting in a restaurant is sit by the window. Whenever I know I'm going to take a picture in a restaurant, I always scope it out and then I say, can I sit by the window? Is that okay? So find a window, find good natural light. That's honestly the best way that you're going to get any pictures in general, right? So, okay, thanks guys. Bye, bye, bye.